everybody, welcome to Drive-Thru Review number 119. Today I'm going to talk about Aeroplanes, Aviation Ascendant for Mayfair Games. Designer is Martin Wallace. It plays 3 to 5 players, and it's going to take you probably a good solid 2 hours, roughly, kind of depending on the number of players. 3 is going to go shorter, obviously, more with 5. This is a game about sort of the early stages of commuter aviation, transporting consumers from place to place, and specifically in Europe, and then expanding out into Africa and Asia and somewhat North America and South America. This is a game that I think off the bat is not going to be liked by everybody. I happen to enjoy the heck out of this game, and I know others will not. I've seen other reviews and talked to some people, and their impressions are not positive. Most everybody I've played it with has liked it and has actually been surprised at how much they liked it. I've had people that have been frustrated by the game. Like I said, I love the game. So I think before I show you how it works, I think most people will probably compare this to Brass or Age of Industry. Unfortunately, I've played neither, so there goes my credentials. But I think if you have Brass or Age of Industry, the question is, do you need this in your collection? I don't know. I think this has enough different mechanics in it that maybe it will, you should try it at least. There is randomness in the game, and I'll talk more about it when I go through the walkthrough. I'll give a fairly comprehensive walkthrough and then come back and share my thoughts. But the randomness is going to frustrate people, and it's going to depend on how the game shakes out. So there are passengers that will come out that you need to deliver from one city to another. And so that is going to sort of gear people down certain roads. Now you're not going to lock in. Like if you get a bunch of passengers that want to go to Rome or Japan or something, you're not going to there's not like an optimal strategy that only whoever executes that the best is going to win at all. But there's going to be sort of these permutations around sort of the main ways to score that are going to be informed by how the random tiles come out. And I think that's a great, bone for the game. It's a good plus, so that the games aren't going to get samey and be scripted at all. And that's the key aspect of the game that I like, is the scripting of the game. There's some scripting, but it's not total scripted. And actually, I've had a chance to play this 4 times now with 3, 4, or 5 players. And I've had the opportunity to play the last couple times I played this weekend, actually, to really kind of just go off the chain and go off the rails and try really weird strategies that actually worked effectively, relatively. So, let me just jump into the game, explain how it works, I'll come back and tell you a little bit more about it. Okay, here I've got the board set up, just after setup with 3 players. You've got the European map up here, which is a large focal point of the map. There's going to be a lot of competition over here for creating airports and in the different cities. Specifically, these cities you can see with the pictures in the background. These are sort of the central cities, the larger cities: Paris, London, Berlin, Amsterdam, Rome. And then at the bottom of the map here, you've got Africa and Asia, and then you've got some little one-offs here: North America, down here South America. So what players are going to be trying to do basically is sort of somewhat colonize all of these different areas with their airports, and then they're going to get a foothold in each of these cities and then deliver passengers. We can see along the side of the board here. I'll zoom into these different areas and tell you more about them. Then here you've got some sort of technology tiles or special tiles that you can acquire to help you get to certain places and play the game more effectively. We've got 2 kinds of dice here. We've got 3 black dice, and then this is the first player white dice. And then on the side of the board here, you've got airplanes. And these airplanes are going to come out in the same order every game. So you can see the very, very first airplane is going to be this little dingbat here. It's cheap. It costs you $1, okay? And you see it's got a number 1, whereas this one here is a 2, and it's going to cost you $1. And these are going to come out the same every time. So it's sort of like a progression of technology and upgrade. So at the bottom of the deck, way up there, you're going to get the bigger passenger planes that hold more people, etc. So players are going to start the game off with a certain amount of money. And as you can tell, the money is not double-sided. Nothing in this game is double-sided. The technology tiles here, blue on the back. They're the same shape as the passenger tiles, which are also blue on the back. It drives me crazy. The airport tiles are the same size and also blue on the back. So, components are okay, except for this whole single-sided business. It drives me crazy. It's hard to pack the game away. Sometimes I shuffle airport tiles in with the technology tiles, It's not indicative or worthy of Mayfair. So I'm just going to put that out right there. Very upsetting. And it detracts from the game a little bit. So I'm going to give this rating, maybe, let's say I want to give it an 8. I haven't really settled on one. But the components will drop that at least 1 or 2 rating points. So just that's how much it affects the game, I think. I will say I enjoy the heck out of the game, and so I'm able to overlook that, but deep inside I know that's a big problem. So players are going to start off with $12 plus or minus money based on the starting cities that they pick. Okay, so you can see here before the game starts, whoever to the right of the first player is going to get their starting city, and you just put your little home airport in the city. Now the red player here has chosen Paris, and you can see here's a minus $1 or euro or whatever. So he's going to get 12 minus 1, so he'll actually start with 11. And the reason for that is Paris is easily the best city to have in terms of its proximity to all the other key airports. So it's a very central location. The black player here went down to Rome, so he's actually going to start with 14, so 12 plus 2. And then again, the blue player up here is going to start with 13, 12 plus 1 up here in London. In addition to the starting money, players are going to get a big old stack of 3 types of airports. And you've got basically an Era 1, Era 2, and Era 3 airport. Now these airports are not available to be used until a player buys an airplane, and I'll explain how that works in a minute. But they have a sort of a general supply that they don't really have access to right away. The game does come with these player aid cards, which are very nice and a boon in terms of components, describing all the different actions a player can do, as well as descriptions of the advantage tiles, which you can see here. And before I explain what the different actions are, I just want to give you an idea of what you're trying to do in terms of scoring points in the game and what you're going to be going for. So there's basically 3 rounds or 3 eras in the game, and you're going to do scoring at the end of each of these. Now there's 4 different ways you can score points. Let me talk about the bottom 3 first. So you can see there's Europe, Africa, and Asia. Well, if you look at the background of these little squares where you'll be putting your airports, you can see the African ones are green, Asia's purple, and then the European ones are yellow. So whoever has the most airports in Europe in the first round will get 3 points, second most will get 2, and then that'll go up in the third era, so you get 7 and 4. And the same with Africa and Asia. Now, the trick with this is Europe is easily the most contested area of the game. It's easier to get your airports out. It's a lot more difficult to get them out in Africa and Asia. But you might say, well, if it's more difficult to get them out here, why isn't it worth more points? Well, it's more contested here, but some of the passengers that you're going to deliver in these areas are worth a whole mess of points by themselves. So you're going to be taking some risks in going to these areas, but if the risks pay off, they're going to pay off big time. And you're going to have less competition, probably, depending on how the players play the game, in getting those points. The last way that you get points is profit. And the way that this is calculated, basically, is whoever has the highest profit is going to get, 5, and then second highest 3, and then 12, 7, and 4 here in the third era. And I'll explain how profit works, but that's basically whoever delivers passengers the most efficiently is going to have the higher profit. Okay, the first action that players are probably going to do the very, very first turn of the game is to buy an airplane. And you can see here's the cost of the airplane, $1. And this one's $1, now it's $3. Now you can always buy the bottom airplane for whatever the face value is. However, you can skip up and buy a higher sort of ranked airplane, a better technological advancement. But you're going to pay a little bit of a penalty. So if I wanted to buy this airplane here, that's actually going to cost me 4 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3, so it's going to cost me 7. So the way to look at this is basically the bottom one is always plus 0. The second highest one is plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4. So you take whatever the face value is and then you sort of add its position relative in the row here. So this one will cost me $5, this one will cost me $2. Now when you buy an airplane, let's take this airplane here. There's a couple things to keep in mind. Basically, here's the cost. Here is the number of airports that you're going to put on it. And what you're going to do when you buy it is you're going to put an airport of the era matching the little hash there. So I would put an Era 1 airport on this plane. Now I have an airport that I'm allowed to put out on the board. Until you buy an airplane, you don't have any means of traveling to these different areas, no airplanes to support an airport. And so once you buy that, you put the airport on there. The other thing to note is this little icon here sort of looks like an envelope or some wings. This will allow you to travel long distance. So you can see some of these routes here have a long distance marker on it. So if you were to go from like here to here, you'd need to be placing an airport off of a plane that had a long distance marker that was able to travel that extra distance. Now this long distance marker will also let you skip over a destination. So if I was going from here, I could skip all the way over to here. Okay, so you can actually skip one sort of link on the route with these. The other thing to keep in mind is this passenger area here. So this is sort of the capacity of the passengers. So you're going to have up to 2 passengers or 2 points worth of passengers on this plane. So if we kind of look through the deck a little bit further, we're going to see these are all Aero 1s. Here you got the Aero 2s. You start putting the Aero 2 airports on there. Let's see, some of these will have victory points on them for the end of the game. And let's see, some of these will allow you to put multiple airports on there. You know, the different capacities. You may have larger ones, 4. Some of these have 6. So as you know, like I said, as you go up, you're going to get better airplanes. Now the next action a player may do would be to establish routes or put the airports out. So if I have these 2 airplanes in front of me here, and I've got one airport on there, then when I bought the airplane I put that there, and then I got 2 airports here, because this one gives me 2. So now I can go to try to put out all of the airports that I have, not one at a time. So what you're going to do is you're going to start from your home location, and then you need to place adjacent to, you know, any pre-existing airport. So I could go here, I could put one in Tulum, and I could go over here to Madrid, and maybe I could go up here to Vienna, like that. Now you can always place, you know, adjacent to a pre-existing airport across a white link for free. You just place it there. And then so I can go place it here, here, and here. Now you can see here, you've got this red link, like so, because there's the Alps there. So you can see on the board here, you've got a red link and it says 12 plus, a black link was a 14 plus, so you can see here's a black one there. And it also says a second white link. So if you're doing that whole skip action, so if I was going here from Athens, let's say into Rome, I'd skip Vienna up here, then I'd need to roll for that second link. So what you're going to do here, let's say I was going to go from Rome to Zurich. I wasn't going to go around here. I need to roll these 3 dice here. Okay, and I need a roll of 12 plus. Now if there was already an airport in there, I basically would need a roll of 15 plus, because this adds +2 to your die roll if there's already somebody else's airport in there. So you're going to roll these dice, add them up, so I got 7, 11. Now I didn't quite make it, so I needed a 12, right? So I can pay $1 here for each point that I was missing on these dice to make up the difference. Now if I don't have enough money, or I choose not to do that, then that's going to end my turn. You know, whatever airport I was going to place here, I get that back on my plane to use on a later turn. Now the other nasty thing that can happen here is if you roll these skulls. So if I roll a skull, I'm going to get one of these little damagers, these little broken propellers, and I'm going to put that in front of me. Now, when I get 4 of these on the airport that I'm trying to place, when I get the 4th one, so let's say I've got 3 of these in front of me, I roll this and I get my 4th skull. That airport that I was trying to place in that location is gone. It's discarded back to my general supply. I've lost it. And then you're going to get rid of all of these damage tokens, and then you sort of start over. And you don't ever want that to happen. It's not the end of the world, but you've lost a valuable airport that you could have been using to increase your majority in whatever area of the map you were using. The next action you may do is to be to take a passenger tile. And that's a very simple thing. You basically just take one passenger tile. Now to take it, you need to have an airport in 2 locations. So if I wanted to take a guy from here from London, you can see all the London guys here. This is where they currently are. They're in London, and they're trying to get to whatever the airport is on the tile. So this guy's starting in London, he wants to get to Paris. So all I need to take that is to have an airport in London and an airport in Paris. I don't need all the links in between. I just need one in each. The next requirement is that I must have room for this, because this is a large group of passengers here. It's a 3. So I would need an airplane with at least 3 on it to be able to store this passenger here, like so. And these are going to be used in calculating profit at the end of the round, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But you can see the different passengers are sort of color-coded, like Casablanca. This guy's going to try to go to Africa. This guy's going to Asia. He's got the purple background. Now to start the game, there's mostly going to be European passengers. You're going to draw these out of a bag like so. Any passengers that have these little X's on the bottom are not going to come out in the first round, but these will be drawn out in the second and third round. So some of these are going to be worth the victory points. Like you can see this South American guy is worth 4 points all by himself. So the next action you might do is to take one of these advantage tiles, and there's a couple ways this will work. So what you're going to do is you're going to pay $1, and you have 2 options. You can pay $1 and take any tile you want, or you can pay $1 and roll these black dice. So you roll them like so, and then now you can choose 2 tiles, but they have to match the dice that are rolled. You can see there's dice pips on each of these. So these daring pilots have a 2, and these maintenance things here have a 3. So in this case, I could have chosen a daring pilot, a maintenance thing, or the night flights. So I can choose 2 of those. So let's say I take this one and this one. Now if they're gone, let's say all the 2s were gone and I rolled all 3 2s, I'd be screwed. I wouldn't get what I want. If you roll a skull in this case, that is a wild, so you can take anything you want if you roll a skull. And that's not bad, you don't take any damage or anything when you roll for this. So what these tiles actually do is, let me explain real quick. So the daring pilot here. So when I roll to go across some of the more dangerous terrain, like if I'm going over the Alps here, or some of these black areas here where I need to roll a 14 plus, I can discard these and add +3 to my die roll. And I can discard as many of them as I want. So I could discard all 3 of them if I had 3 of them. The maintenance tile here, at the beginning of my turn, before I do the action, you've got to do it the first thing on your turn. If I discard this, I can get rid of all of these damage markers, no matter how many I have for one tile. So those are pretty nice if you're trying to be daring and go down here to the south. Now I can use these first 2 tiles. You can see the little hash mark there, starting at the beginning of the game in Aero 1. These next 2, the increased production and these night flights, I can't use until Aero 2 starts. I can buy them whenever I want, but I can't actually use them until the second round. Now this one is really, really good. These 2 are actually very key. So this one is, if I buy an airplane, I'm going to put an airport on there. But if I have one of these and I discard it, I can put an additional airport of whatever I was going to get. So in this case, I would get 2 airports. Or if I had one of these, bought this, discarded that, I'd get 2 + 1, so I get 3 airports. So it's a great way to get a bunch of airports, to get a bunch of them out at once and start to get a majority. Now the night flights work sort of similar for the passengers. When I go to take a passenger, if I have a night flight tile, I can discard this back into the supply and take up to 2 tiles, because remember, normally you can only take 1. But the only caveat with that is I have to take one of them has to be in Europe, so one of them has to be yellow. But that's a good way to gobble up some passengers, because these are going to be fought over and highly sought after, and they're going to get taken from you. Finally, we have these beacon towers here, and these are only able to be used in the final round of the game. You can see with the 3 hashes. So I can discard these after rolling 3 dice. And in this case, it would be really good because I rolled a 2 and 2 skulls. So I could discard that, totally ignore everything about that roll, and then re-roll again. Now the last action you can do is take a subsidy here, and that's simply just taking $1 from the subsidy box. So the round is going to end once everybody has taken all of the subsidies out of here, and then somebody else doesn't have anything else to do, so they go and take this pawn, the round immediately ends. And then we're going to do a little bit of scoring and move to the second and then the third round. Now I've explained all the different actions you can take, but I haven't explained how the round's going to work, and this is a key sort of point of contention, I think, with people, and it's going to be that way with probably most groups. So the way that it happens here is, let's say I'm the first player and we're playing a 3-player game. I'll take an action, player to my left will take an action, the next guy will take an action, and it's back to me. I've got the first player die, so I'm going to roll that, and then we're going to move the die around the table that many times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he gets the first player die. He goes first. He takes action, I take action. This guy takes action, he rolls the die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to this guy. So the turn order is going to keep skipping all over the place. And now, I actually like this. Because, first of all, these planes are going to be scripted out every single time if there was no turn order randomness. People are going to learn to buy which plane is the best on which turn, and it's going to be totally boring. Now, I will say it's much more irritating in a 5-player game, because this sucker can just bounce all over the place. Now, in a 3- and 4-player game, it's not as bad, and it actually keeps it a little bit interesting. You got to stay a little bit frisky, and it doesn't seem to block overall strategies at all. You've got to sort of, play a little bit independently and be wary of what people are doing. You've got to know that you're going to get, airports taken from you, passengers taken from you, planes taken from you, things like that. Now the thing with the planes is the good ones are usually all up there, so you don't really want to go first. So being first player is not the greatest thing in the world, because if you've got to buy planes, you're going to have to pay more money for the good ones that are up higher. And the other thing that's going to happen is once you get this Europe full, and this is especially going to happen in a 4- and 5-player game, once it's full, then you're going to get your airports built on top of. So what can happen here is once an area is full, you can go in and build on top of a lesser era airport with any higher number airport. And you just take them out. So you can take out your own if you want, or you can take out another player's, which is probably better. But you could take out your own in sort of a defense. So if I had a 1 here, I could put a 3 on there, and that can never be built over, because you can never build over a 3 with another 3. It's always got to be a higher number. And so again, with this die roll here, you don't want to be the first guy to put out the airports. I mean, sometimes you do just to get a foothold out there. But you want to be the last guy because you want to build on top of other people. So it's hard to explain without having you play the game, but there's a lot of little wrinkles here that I think I think it does an okay job of it, of making the game interesting and, you know, keeping you on your toes, so to speak. Now, the one place where you will get screwed is these passenger tiles here. So if you were planning to take a passenger tile and then, you know, you're not first and you're set up that was going to be your optimal choice that turn, you may get passenger tiles taken from you. But that's not the only way to score points, remember. Yeah, these are going to add to your profit, but the other ways you're going to score points is basically the area control and then also getting to the areas in the south. So let me talk quickly about scoring for profit. The other scoring is pretty straightforward. It's just area control, and whoever has the most, you know, gets these points. Now profit works a little bit tricky. Not too tricky, but let's say I had this airplanes here, like so. I've got 3 capacity. It's not very much. And so if I had filled this one and this one, my profit is going to be 3. I'm going to take all of my passenger points here, the size of these passengers, and I'm going to subtract any unused capacity. Well, in this case, I don't have any unused capacity, so my profit is 3. Now, if I had this, I'd have 2 with an unused capacity of 1. So it would be 2 actually minus 1, minus the unused capacity. So I'd only have a profit of 1. Well, let's say I had it like so here. 1 there and 1 there. Same thing, I've got 2 passengers and then I've still got 1 unused on this one. So it's 2 minus 1, I only have a profit of 1. Whoever has the highest profit number just gets the most points. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. First thing, let's talk about the white dice. So the white dice, like I said in the overview, is going to be a point of contention for people. I think I explained why I like it. There might be another way to do the first player marker. I mean, you could just have it rotate left, left, left. But the thing is like you're going to get screwed out of something anyway, even if you just keep playing in a circle, you know, round and round and round. Based on your turn order, your seat position, you're going to get screwed out of something because, you know, it happened that, you know, Bill was 2 players to the right of you and he has both airports that you have, so he's going to take that passenger you have. So that's random. I mean, you sat down randomly. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. It keeps it interesting. It does make me change sometimes, you know, what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, oh, well, he's going to take this, so I'm going to do this instead. But it doesn't make me deviate really from my overall strategy. And so this is a game that is full of tactics, but it's also full of strategy. And that is not going to become apparent if you play it one time. You're going to have to play this a few times. And I'm just going to give you a strategy here. And, you know, I hate doing this, but I think it's a game that needs a chance. Not everybody's going to like it, no big deal. But I want to just give you a strategy. So, I did this the other day and I loved it. So, in the first era, I had a bunch of airplanes, got a bunch of airports out, trying to get, you know, a nice majority score in Europe. Okay? And I saw other people doing really well with the passengers. They were getting passengers, they were filling the capacity, and I probably was not going to be able to do as well, or maybe just catch up to them. So I said, screw it. I'm not going to get any passengers in the first round. I'm going to get 0 points for my profit. I'm going to solidly get Europe. I'm going to get a bunch of advantage tiles and hold those, because those 2 good ones you can't use to the second era. You know, the pink one that lets you get extra airports, the night one that lets you get the extra passengers in, you know, the second era and beyond. I said I'm going to get a bunch of airports out, I'm going to get some planes, and then I'm not going to fill them. So what happens when you do that is you turn those over, and the unfilled capacity, you put these little markers on. I didn't show you, I'm trying to keep it kind of short. But you put those on there, and you can use those in later rounds, but that extra capacity from those flipped over airplanes is not going to count against you. Okay? So now I had all of this room going into the second era that I could use free of charge. Now I could get some more airplanes in the second era, because one thing I didn't tell you was you get $22 and then $32 at the beginning of the second and third era, so you get a cash injection. So I get the extra money, I get the extra airplanes, and I fill those up first, but then I can fill up all this extra stuff, so it makes my profits even higher and harder to get, and the points go up as the eras go along. So I'm going to get more points in that era, and I focus better on the area majority in the first area. So there's ways to maneuver here. And also based on the way that the passengers come out, it may be beneficial for you to run and try to extend all the way out. Now the first game I played, I tried to go out a little bit, but I didn't go out very far. But it is possible, if you build up enough of those advantage tiles, to get all the way to Australia or make those jumps to North America or Japan. And you really have give yourself a fair chance to do it. And the passengers that you deliver to those are worth 5 points all by themselves. Well, that 5 points is basically like having second place in area majority in the final round, and that's just from one of the passengers. If you do a couple of those, you buy a couple of those victory point airplanes, which people seem to ignore because they want the airports and things like that. But if you buy a bunch of those, that's a lot of points. We had a guy the other day played, I think he had like 12 points or something in airplanes. We were like, what? He's like, I'm just buying all the ones for the victory point. So there's a lot of things to go on here. So yeah, I think you can tell just from that I really enjoy the game as well. Now you're going to get your airports built over. That's going to happen. It's going to hurt. I don't think that's the fault of the game. It's just, this is a real in-your-face game. It's got risks. You've got the black dice that you're rolling. You've got to prepare for it. You've got to be prepared that you're going to get stuff taken from you. So unfortunately I can't compare it to like brass or anything like that, but I think it's along those lines. This is a game I really look forward to playing. It's one of my favorite games that I've played this year in a long time. It has sort of a very nice older feel to it. It feels like it's a few years older, not like this new stuff that's coming out now all the time. And I really like it. It's very in your face. It's very rewarding when you can make like a long flight, when you can sort of plan out based on the passengers that come out and things like that. So it's a game I highly recommend that people give a shot to and go into it knowing that you need to take a deep breath every turn and sort of reevaluate what you were going to do. And there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of decisions you can make as far as which type of airplanes you're going to get. A bunch of airports. You're going to get the one that has long distance, so you can make those extra flights. You're going to really try to dominate early because you can jump out early and go down to Africa, or you can get out to Asia, and most people are going to be scared to do that. So you can get some points there, and you can build up those points across rounds, because once you get in there early, you'll have a couple. You get the area majority. Next round, you've already got a couple, so you just need to add a couple. Everybody else is all fighting over Europe, so and yelling at each other. So there's a lot of areas to maneuver here, and the way those passenger tiles come out can really sort of change how you're going to try the game and things like that. So I like it. I think people will hate it, but I like it, and I know there's other people out there that will like it too. So give it a shot. Thanks.